Good morning, everyone. This is the Open Space Weekly Integration. My name is Iris and this is Laura.
Good morning.
We're here to guide you through the morning session. The idea of this workshop is for everyone who's connected to share what's moving, to connect with us, to interact. And we have some people online that have been to retreats with us in the last couple of weeks. There's some people online that have been watching the program for the last week. And I would suggest until we start getting comments in the chat, which Zero is going to communicate to us, we can maybe share a little bit about what's been moving in us in the last week, if we feel like it. For me, the topic of the last week, I'm not sure if it's more than 1 week, it feels like we've been talking about this forever, it's been freedom. On Wednesday, I've already talked with Fernando. We shared about the difference between freedom and liberty, where liberty is something that's perceived from the outside, freedom is something that emerges from the inside. And for me, one of the most moving workshops we've had was actually yesterday, the workshop we had with Alberto about freedom. And it's even very difficult for me to define what is the thing that's been so complicated, so confronting for me. I think the main point for me is the confrontation with my own beliefs, like the moving from the idea of liberty, like moving from the idea that something in the outside is limiting me or something in the outside is limiting my freedom, to realize that what's limiting me is actually the belief that I have, the moral that I have, the way I see myself, maybe the idea that I have about myself, which connects to what we've talked about the weeks before, the idea that we have about ourselves.
Yeah, I'm looking at that triangle from yesterday, and of course it's very ironic because I'm the one who chose the topic exactly a week ago, of freedom, almost as if I was setting myself up. And for me, it's been very hard this week to realize that I am not free. That although I have freed myself from some things, freeing yourself from things is not being free. It's not even close to being free. And to see how I'm exactly there in that place where instead of consciousness, there's immaturity, conditioned mind, traumas, and how that leads inevitably to failure. Or we can call it the perception of failure if we want to get intellectual about it, but it's also a sensation when you're in it. It might be a perception from a more elevated space, but when you're in the sensation, it's a full-on experience. And what's also really challenging for me is that I'm continuously looking for a what for. Why? As if someone told me, you're going through this now, but there's a happy ending. Look, can you see it? It's there. The happy ending is there. Go through it, bear it, and the happy ending will come. But then, of course,
Yeah, it's like transcending something with the knowledge of, like, accepting it with knowing it's gonna be over, which is not acceptance. Yeah. Yeah, for me, what hit me a lot yesterday was also the last week is the difference we've been making, especially in this communa, sometimes, like talking about people that are unconscious or asleep, almost from a place of judgment. And for me, I've been observing the last days and weeks how for me judgment is the thing that keeps me in the place where I am. Like, that I'm judging myself for not being free, that I'm judging myself for being in an emotion. And I'm starting to, and there are days I'm saying, oh, I'm not judging anymore, and it's obviously a lie. But this idea that when I start to really accept myself for, like, almost like starting to accept the belief that I have, because I've been I've been thinking that I'm sort of free. Like, I know that I had some limitation, but I thought I kind of, freed myself also from things, as you said, and then accepting that I'm not. And yesterday I was actually laughing a lot when I realized how ridiculous it is, like being in the place of thinking that you're free, and by thinking that you're free, you're kind of trapping yourself more, because you're not seeing the limitation anymore from the place of perception that you're free. Like, for me, that was like I laughed so much yesterday, because it seems like suddenly it seemed very funny in that moment. I don't know.
And what's been coming up, not only this week, but for months now, and not only for me, but in general as a community, that I've been seeing, is this freedom in relationships. And intellectually, for me, it was very clear. Forever. I mean, probably since I'm 18 and I started being in relationships, I realized that early, that there was no such thing as an open relationship or a closed relationship, because every relationship was inherently open by its own nature. Because, if I'm in a relationship with you, the best thing I could say, at best, for it to be a closed relationship or an exclusive relationship, would be something like, well, if I fall in love with someone else, I'll let you know. Before doing something about it, for example. Because it's impossible to say, I'm not going to fall in love. I promise I'm never going to fall in love with anyone else.
It's so ridiculous that we even think
it's really ridiculous. And I realized from that early on that to be honest, and I realized, because I went through that experience, that I loved a person, boyfriend, partner at the time, whatever, but I still loved others. And I could either repress that, and it would be one option, and it's a perfect. I mean, by no means understand that everyone needs to be immediately playing upon every single desire they have. That's not what I'm saying either. But either repress it with more or less consciousness, either by realizing that it's a desire and whatever, or following up on it and whatever. Sometimes breaking up with partner number one to be with partner number two, and then breaking up with partner number two and coming back to partner number one, because I realized that at the end of the day, partner number one still had more of what I wanted or needed than partner number two, but it had been fun to explore. And I gave myself that permission, or not. But it's nonetheless ironical that clarity that I had as practically a teenager, when it comes to moving through it, it's nowhere near real. It's a mere intellectual knowledge.
it's what we always talk about, the difference between understanding and comprehending, no? And for me, it's interesting how incoherent I am, and maybe you are as well, in a way of thinking, well, I'm free, and then believing you are free as well. But then when it comes to the moment when the freedom is being manifested, that then all the wounds are activated, everything is just, and that kind of brings us down to where we are actually, no? It's like, oh well, actually I'm not free. Well, it sucks, but yeah.
And now what?
Now what? Yeah.
So it feels like there's a lot of confusion still around in practice, in day-to-day life. How is this freedom materialized? What does it mean? What does it really mean in a day-to-day practical life when we are in a society at the end that somehow enhances monogamy and also enhances how do you say it? Adultery? No. Adultery. Like unfaithfulness.
Unfaithfulness.
But it has to be hidden. It has to be in that way.
Yeah.
I find it very complex.
I find it complex too, especially when it comes to realizing how freedom is not about doing whatever you want, because the part of me that wants something could also be the one that limits me. Like if I am in a character that wants to have sex with all the world, I can be trapped in that character, which then me living that character wouldn't be freedom. It would be just another prison expressed in a certain way.
I've actually been through that character too. And I will admit that it didn't bring me any kind of satisfaction, fulfillment, not even fun, if I'm very honest.
Yeah, for me it would be the how I feel that I'm starting to get an idea of what freedom would be actually. For me it would be first of all being aware of my limiting beliefs, and the limiting beliefs, but also like whenever I want something, to be able to detect where that comes from, and then being in that place of consciousness to be able to decide when to, like what to do, because I could have a desire and then decide to go for it from a place of consciousness, which for me is different than acting from a desire, from a need of acting from the desire. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I've oftentimes cheated myself, and I say the word cheated myself by saying, I know this is a desire, but I'm going to do it to see where it takes me. But it's as if at the end of the day, it's still the same character becoming more and more and more refined. And the place where I really hit rock bottom is when I realized that the truth is that I don't trust. I don't trust. And we can go back to 4 weeks, 5 weeks ago. Maybe it was a month ago. When we were talking about, it started with the yes to everything. And then we moved on to man and woman. And the truth is I don't trust. I don't trust men. I don't trust women. Or I trust them to be the way I already know they are. And over again, the situations repeat themselves because they're all based upon those beliefs. And I think for the first time this week, but today, I realized that I want to be free.
So from that, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't want to call it a definition, but from that statement, it would be when you say that you don't trust men, you don't trust women, you don't trust yourself.
Of course.
So then freedom would be directly connected to trusting yourself and to trusting life.
So it would seem.
But it's a conclusion, so I don't trust it.
It's a bit more, probably more complex than a conclusion, but the point for me is that for the first time, I've had the courage to say I want to be free. And of course it comes from a place of suffering, I suppose, right now. But it's in those moments where everything opens up and where you can really make decisions with courage. Because the only thing you know is that you can't continue like that. That you don't want to repeat over and over, and that something different to what you've known might make you feel less comfortable and more lost, but it can't be worse than,
It can't be worse.
It can't be worse.
Cyril, you will advise us if we have any comments, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for me, what I feel, yesterday we did this, the Temazcal, the sweat lodge. You were there.
I was there.
And there was a moment where a friend, Paula, was sharing about the situation with her daughter, and I connected to a deep hatred, and later what is asco? Disgust. I connected to a deep disgust about myself that I hadn't been able to feel before. And I realized how later on, when we were outside, I had a negotiation with myself. And I realized how I have this mechanism that limits my freedom, which is it's starting from either the disgust or maybe a fear, and as something that I want, and it feels like intuition, or like something that goes beyond the character, like something that I really want. And then there comes another part of me that from this feeling of the fear, from the feeling of the limitation, of the disgust, makes me believe that that's not what I want actually, and suddenly I don't want it. And I saw clearly how this machinery is working. Like somehow there's some deep desire, and then the thoughts come and make me believe that it's not actually what I want. And I realize how that is a way in which I limit myself, which kind of goes beyond not doing what I want, but making myself believe that it's not what I want. It's like one.
So, how is freedom present or not in your life and in your relationship, in your current relationship?
So, since yesterday I believe that there's no freedom in my life, but it's probably another lie. In my relationship, in theory, we have it very clear that each one of us has the freedom to do or feel what she wants, And we're starting to slowly explore that by realizing, by sharing about attraction to another person, by sharing about a feeling or something, a desire, but we haven't implemented it in praxis. So it's not like it wasn't in the moment where something. And to me, the praxis would have to do with the physical action, and I don't know if that's actually something that's...
Yeah, because I see that how easy it is to go into the place of, I don't know what the word is in English, libertinaje, of this. Does anyone know the word?
Libertinaje.
Libertinaje. In English, how do you say it? Because it's not. It's a misperception of freedom. Like everyone doing whatever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want, with whomever they want, and thinking, well, Alberto, he didn't mention that word. He talked about responsibility and irresponsibility, but it would be that irresponsibility, and it would be debauchery. Exactly. Oh my God.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And I feel that's not the point.
No.
I feel it, but I'm not sure, because when I say debauchery, there is a judgment. I'm labeling what is and what isn't. But I have a hard time imagining freedom with, everyone just screwing with everyone. I'm not sure how that works. Or if it would even be authentic.
For me, that would depend on from where it comes from. If freedom could be the liberty, debauchery could be expressed as rebellion.
And I'm even thinking now that freedom includes debauchery. It must, if it's freedom. If it's freedom, it includes everything, because you're free.
Yeah, it includes everything.
But debauchery doesn't include freedom.
Yeah.
But freedom includes
everything.
Just like consciousness includes unconsciousness, but unconsciousness does not include consciousness.
I think we have some comments.
Do we?
It's from Rebecca. If you allow freedom to yourself and the other, do you need trust? Or do you need trust first in order to allow the freedom?
I don't know that freedom is something that you allow.
For me, the idea of allowing freedom would already not be freedom.
It's as if I was saying, hey Iris, here, use my freedom. Use your freedom. Here, no, take it, but please take it. There. Please remember that I gave it to you. And now give it back.
Yeah.
Because it's mine.
Yeah. I give it to you.
I give you your freedom.
Yes, that's the
I allow you. I give you your freedom, but I allow you to be free. No, I think it's a very, very deep recognition that everyone is free by nature, and that the moment we start labeling what is freedom and what isn't, or what is valid freedom and what isn't valid freedom, we're screwed. Or how, it's as if I was to say, your freedom ends where it hurts me. However, if I don't have that consideration towards you, if I internally with myself acknowledge consciously my freedom doesn't allow me to hurt you, it's different.
That is different. That is different from... In that moment, it's a decision whether or not I want to hurt you. It's a free decision.
It's my responsibility. It's my use of my freedom.
Yeah.
It's my use of my freedom. But I cannot judge your use of your freedom. Like Alberta was saying yesterday, you can't take away the right for someone to be angry.
Or hurt.
Or hurt. But that doesn't mean they have to mistreat you. It doesn't mean that that person has the right to be abusive. In this case, he was talking about an argument.
Yeah.
You can be angry with someone. I can be angry with someone. That doesn't allow me to be abusive with the person. And then at the same time, like the other person was saying, there's not a chance in the world that you can abuse me and that you can hurt me if I'm in a place of consciousness.
Yeah. Wow, that's hard to realize. Like when the moment something hurts me, to be aware that it's because my wound is still open, like it's still not transcended. And for me, what's difficult to be in that place is the one thing. But I never, like for me, it's really difficult even in the context that we are right now. If I see somebody hurting, for me it's difficult to like it's a place where I feel completely impotent. Like I don't know what to do. Because on the one hand I know that that's nothing I can do to ease the other person's pain, and on the other hand knowing that, well, that's this feeling of, I don't know, of wanting to do something. I don't know. That's something that I haven't transcended.
It's like, I'm looking at that graph again where it says, I have a pure look and an arrow pointing at you. But one of the things that I realized this morning is that it's not so much that I want to recover a pure look towards you. I just want to recover a pure look. It doesn't have to do with a particular person who's in that moment in the situation.
That's true.
It's the ability to look at everything with purity.
Of everything, yeah.
Anything, everything, anyone, everyone.
Yeah, and in that moment, the need to do anything disappears. Because you can see how perfect it is. There are some questions or comments.
Yeah, several. Rebecca also says, you allow it to yourself, no? Freedom. And then, okay, so to recognize the freedom, do you need to trust first, or is trust not in the triangle? And also we have other comments. Anya.
Hi, Anya.
Maybe we do create these false contrasting beliefs as a way to test ourselves with the things we think make us free. May it be a control check, in quotes. Our mind does in order to gain extra clarity. And Christine says, is freedom living a life beyond your characters, or is that even possible?
Hi, Christine.
Well, we are receiving very
a
lot of comments. Yeah.
I'm going to share a little personal story that happened some months ago, except I had a realization about that today. There was a moment in my relationship with my partner at the time, where he wanted to run. or escape, or he had to go. He wanted to go. And because of his history and that he had shared, my feeling was that he was running away from love. And I didn't want that to happen, because I didn't want him or I to be in a cycle of repeating our personal histories over and over again, which is of course what we do here. We don't want to repeat our history. And what I was realizing is that he had the right to run away from love, or from something that wasn't love. It doesn't matter. He had the right to run. And that if I trusted, I wouldn't have an issue with him running away from love, or from not love, if I truly trusted. So I don't see how trust can be not in this triangle. I mean, I even have the feeling that we could probably change the word freedom for trust, or consciousness for trust, because I have a feeling that I'm not sure if synonymous, but somewhere there.
Yeah, from that point of view, I feel like what Christina has shared is fitting, because if you are not caught in your characters that are distrusting, that are in fear, that are in trauma, but you are connected to consciousness, this, for me, would automatically bring you to that freedom and to trust. Because if we let go of all the trauma, the only thing there is trust, and then the only thing there is freedom. I feel the same. This is something maybe we can talk to Alberto later, and he can elaborate.
Well, of course, the thing also is that the moment I wasn't trusting his right to run, I wasn't trusting love. Therefore, I was trying to control. Therefore, I was in a character. That's... And then we can bring it back. I was in a character, therefore I wasn't free either. And, at one point, it's easy to talk about it. But when you have to go through it, it's very difficult not to fall into the trauma, the immaturity, and the conditioning. To be honest, I don't know any other way except to fall into that.
And for me, looking for another way would be, again, not to trust that this is what has to happen right now. It's like, for me, I feel if we don't allow ourselves to feel what we feel, then the history has to repeat itself, because the feeling will still be there, the trauma will still be present, and needs to be, I don't know if it needs to be transcended, but for me, I also believe, but it's a belief, so I don't know if it's the truth, that we need to transcend feelings by feeling them, by being in the feeling without feeling it to transcend, because then you get in the trap.
And is it the point even to transcend feelings, or is that just another spiritual bypass? Because being human is having feelings and feeling them, not being some sort of yogi trapped in a cavern. I mean, that's an very easy way of transcending things.
It's true. Yeah, Bertie said the other day that it's not about like being evolved, it's not about being cold, it's not about not feeling, But I don't know exactly what he said, but for me the message was that it's about feeling without being identified with the feeling. Like living the character without being governed by the character. But without living, like without being in a character, we can't be human. But I feel like the difference is that whether the character is the one running my life, or whether I'm the one. Like whether in the moment that my partner wants to run away, I try to control the situation, or I can observe the part of me that wants to control, but just let it be there and not control, not try to control, but just observe the wish.
Yeah, and sometimes even realizing that the character is there doesn't change anything, because I think I can say that on one level I knew that I was being guided by fear. Fear and control are two sides of the same coin anyway. But those, and I've been there before, clearly seeing that I'm in a pattern. And I'm talking, years. This is not new. It's not yesterday. It's not 6 months, and it's not a year. I'm talking being able to be aware in the moment that I'm in a pattern or a character, which is how we call it now. Pattern is how I used to call it 10 years ago. But still just being trapped in it and unable to find a way out of that pattern, of that trap, of that hamster wheel.
What comes to me now is that maybe the wish to get out of it is what keeps you trapped, because that's not acceptance.
More comments?
Tulidol says, how to free myself from the fear of freedom, from realizing my own happiness. I go in and out of my cage. Who else feels afraid of accepting their own dreams coming true? And Christine says, but maybe it is also the opposite, not living beyond the characters, but being conscious of the fact that you are always in a certain character and that makes you free? In exclamation question.
Yeah, so then you can be in the character of the one who is free. I don't know, Christine, to be honest, I don't have an answer. Every time someone asks something that starts with how, we always say, I don't have an answer. And even if I had an answer, I wouldn't give it to you because this and this. The honest truth is, Christine, I don't have an answer.
Yeah. There's no method to free yourself. And this is something that I also realize these days, like when we talk about transcending limits, I feel like there's a tendency to do something in order to free yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, now I'm going to have an orgy so I can transcend my limiting beliefs about sex. But the orgy is not going to free me.
Or now I'm going to meditate for hours on end and reflect and beat myself up for everything that I didn't see that I'm seeing now, because that's going to free me, because I'm going to realize and
now I'm going to jump off the cliff because I'm afraid of the rocks. Like, it's not doing something to free yourself. And that's, for me, the complicated part, because let's say ego, the character, like whoever is guiding my life, it's always, like, we're so used to doing something to reach something. It's like, I'm doing this to reach the next level. I'm doing this to become successful or whatever. And then from that part, like, I need to do this to become enlightened. And now I feel like it's coming up again while talking about liberty, about freedom. I see it again emerge in, like, how people try to do things to free themselves. And for me, it's that's a point that is very delicate, because Alberto said yesterday also we see freedom emerge around. He says like more and more freedom is being expressed, and to me there's a trap there, because it's like, to me there's a difference between doing something from the place of wanting to free yourself or things emerging because you're free.
I was trying to remember, Tuli said something about the fear of freedom.
Fear about your dreams coming true as well.
Yes. My feeling is that focusing it in that way, it's almost as if we say, oh, I'm afraid of my own power. It's a bypass. It's true. I would say it's not false that you're afraid of freedom or afraid of your dreams coming true or afraid of your own power. But if we jump to the object of our fear being freedom and empowerment and love, which would be another one, yeah? I'm afraid of love. We might be bypassing the dirt road somehow, because what's closer, what's in the day-to-day, in the now, is not the fear of freedom right now. I wish it was, but what's now, it's a much more dirty fear, much more conditioned, closer human fear of abandonment, of rejection, of betrayal, fear of not being enough, fear of not being loved, fear of someone else being better, fear of. Yes, at the end of the day, we could all say it's fear of freedom. Deep down, or higher up. But, so Tuli, yes, probably everyone is, greater or lesser level, afraid of their dreams coming true. But maybe a bit closer is the fear of things not being the way in which you thought they had to be. Because that's a confronting belief. Because you can see that between you and freedom, there's this whole set of beliefs of the way things should be. Even the way freedom should be. And it has more to do than coming and going as you wish. Taking or leaving as you wish. That's my feeling, at least. More comments?
Yeah. That this is a question that I was thinking about it. Lorelei, how to stay free if you feel you hurt others by it, by your freedom, with your freedom?
Alberto said something yesterday, and we have to be careful because it's really easy to fall into the if it's that, then it's that, and if it's not that, then it's not that. But or maybe he didn't say it yesterday. But at some point he said that if there was any kind of emotional reaction triggered, it wasn't freedom.
Yeah, so what I do that I consider my freedom, but it produces me guilt, it's not freedom. So when the other person is hurt, and I feel guilty for it, I'm not free.
And it's not about repressing or becoming numb and saying nothing matters either. I'm free to do as I please. Because then it's just the other side of the same coin. But as you can see, we're all trying to figure it out together here.
For me, it's always coming back to the thing that if my idea is if my idea of freedom is of doing whatever I want, I can easily fall into the trap of being enslaved by my characters in some way, because it's if I do whatever I want, the one like and I don't know, whatever I want is what's limiting my freedom in a way. I don't know if that's clear.
Alberto's son once said that he became so obsessed with freedom and being free that he actually became a slave to freedom. Which is to say, to his idea of how freedom had to be developed.
Yeah, that's true. If I'm a slave of my own freedom, oh my god, of my own idea of freedom, that could be it.
Because there was always this tension between himself and what he had to be freed of, or what he had to do in order to be free.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, as long as I feel like I have to do something, like if freedom is conditional, it's also not freedom.
Yes. Yes, of course. In order to do this, I must do that. In order to be free, or I'm not free if. I can only be free if. Oh. Yeah. More comments, Ida?
Yes.
A lot of comments.
By Owen. He wants really to to share something. What are the most difficult aspects of freedom for you?
Oof, letting go of control.
Well, for me, it's like if I don't trust, I can't be free. And so then the difficulty is to confront my trust, like to confront my distrust. And I don't think there's even a point of trying to be free. Like, I feel like the questions we're getting sometimes go to the point of what do I do, or how can I become free? And I don't think it's about that.
Yeah. I wouldn't, it's the most difficult thing about freedom, what was the question exactly? The most
Difficult thing.
The most difficult aspects of freedom for you?
I think is becoming aware of all the ways in which I want to control because I don't trust. Because then I realize that it's almost everything. Everything, actually. It's everything.
So maybe more precise would be, Owen, to ask, what is the most difficult aspect of the path towards freedom? Because once you're free, it's not difficult. For me, it's exactly that. Like, it's not even, I don't think freedom is something that's difficult. What's difficult is to realize that we're not free. Like, the confronting part is to see all the ways that we limit ourselves. And for me, that's exactly what's happening the last couple of weeks. Like, the more and more we go inside, the less we can, like, the more I realize that nothing on the outside is actually limiting me. And then to really fully take responsibility for me being the one limiting myself. Like, the stopping to project.
Yeah. Yes. Well, that's also tough to realize that you're not free because you are not free, not because of anything else. And then I was going to say something and I forgot. It'll come back. Yeah. See.
Christine, Right now, I had a realization of freedom, being the inner knowing that everything is happening now, the past, the present, the future, because there is really nothing to do, nothing to be afraid of. And I was also feeling that when I think about freedom, a part of me feels that is losing something, and another part is winning everything. It's like a duality that is there. It's like I am losing the illusion of being of control of others or over me. Yeah.
I just remembered what I was going to say. And it was that one of those difficult aspects of this process of freedom is also to realize how much space it takes up in my life. This process. How much it takes me away from myself. And from everything else. It's about time for us to close up. And I want to thank everyone for sharing with us as we share about us. I think that there were more comments, more questions. Maybe Cito can send them over to us. But I asked Alberto for next week to deepen into this idea of failure. And that's going to happen starting tomorrow. So Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday we'll have different mentors of the Conscious School developing workshops on failure. Hopefully successfully. Tuesday we'll go into it from the Beyond Psychology panel. Wednesday we'll go into another of the original wounds. And we saw how freedom was so related with betrayal, which wasn't prearranged, by the way.
It wasn't, no, it was so fitting.
So we'll see what original wound arises this week. And then Thursday, Friday and Saturday we'll have 3 Alberto on Air workshops. And I also want to remind everyone that our on-site physical in-presence retreats have already begun in most places. In just a very few places we're not able to start working yet, but in most places, actually I think next weekend everywhere already.
Next week I think so too, but we don't have dates everywhere.
We don't have dates everywhere, but if you're interested in already attending a retreat, contact us because we have retreats almost in every country now. If you're in Switzerland, we do have a retreat in Switzerland next weekend, but people from outside of Switzerland cannot travel into the country until the weekend thereafter. So 11th to 14th we have a retreat, but only for people who live in Switzerland. 18th to 21 you can already travel into Switzerland. In Ireland, I think we already have a retreat next weekend. Rebecca, I think, is watching us, so she might be able to confirm or not. I don't know the status of people who are in the UK, how free they are to fly or to move around. How free they are to move around. We do have a retreat in Marbella. No, we don't. We have one the weekend thereafter. the weekend of June 17th to 21st, which is a week, more than a weekend. We have a retreat in Marbella, and Alberto's going to be there. I am probably going to be there too. And from the 15th to the 17th, we have the leadership and mentorship workshop, which is going to be here in Madrid and also online. If Ciro is putting contact details there, contact anyone.
And both of us are going to be in Berlin.
The both of us are going to be in Berlin.
From the 24th to 28th of June.
Correct.
In a retreat, and it's going to be a retreat with natural traditional substances, but there will be a big focus on conscious school workshops. So there's going to be options to go deeper with the use of substances, but there's also going to be the possibility to just join to do the conscious school workshops.
Yep.
And as a reminder for the events this week, we only have workshops that are directly in English on Wednesday in the morning and in the afternoon, and Sunday in the morning. But all the other dates, all the other events, there's always it is in Spanish, but there's always a translation simultaneously in English, and it's actually quite good. So if you want to join, you can still join. It's not going to be directly in English. But you can also interact, and if you want to post your questions, Google Translate is actually very precise. Well, it's good enough to get your questions communicated.
Yeah, and we also, from now on, we have subscriptions available to Open Space. So I think every workshop with Alberto, every Alberto on Air is 35 euros.
Yeah, normally.
But if you take per workshop, but if you take the weekly subscription, then the whole week is 59 euros. Which means that you're getting 335, which is 105 euros of workshops for 59 euros plus all of the
mental workshops.
All of the mental workshops and the beyond traumas, original wound workshop on Wednesdays, the psychology panel, and also conscious school classes that we retransmit. I think the monthly subscription is 149. And that has 12 Alberto on Airs. 12 Alberto on Airs. So there you would have them for something like less than 15 euros per workshop instead of 35. So if you enjoy the program, if you enjoy this space, please subscribe. We'll send you some information if you're interested in this. And we look forward to sharing more with you.
Thank you everyone for joining, for all your comments and questions. And if something has not been answered that you still want to talk about, Ciro put the contact information, and you can get in contact directly with us. Thank you. Have a great Sunday.
Have a beautiful Sunday, everyone.